All right, welcome everyone. I guess we don't have a lot of people in the room today, but thank you for showing up, Nina, and hopefully others will join up throughout the session. If not, I guess this will be an intimate session, but that's okay because people can probably listen to the recording after we're all done. So thank you, Nina, for joining in. I'll go on to the next slide here. Thanks to these sponsors here, ClassFlow, for supporting this online conference. And Nina, if you'd like to show us where you're from, I'll do the same. So I'm located in Canada, Toronto specifically. So just double click on that pointer there and drag it to the map and share with us.
I think I'm having a little, oh, there it is. There you go.
There you go. Awesome. Perfect. Just to let you know too, because I'd like this to be interactive, I've enabled all the controls, so you have full control with all the buttons on this program as I do. So if you'd like to interrupt me, please feel free. I'll just go to the next one. If you'd like to just press the talk button like you've done, that's the easiest way. If other people start to come in, they can raise their hands if they don't have a talk button yet or don't feel comfortable, or they can use a chat on the bottom as well. Feel free to interrupt anytime. If there's anything you'd like to share, any questions, comments, just hit the talk button and feel free to interrupt me. So my name is Rocco Ricci, and this talk is around a self-directed approach to purposeful learning in the 21st century. Like I stated, I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I am a teacher, but I'm currently pursuing a PhD in alternative education at the Ontario Institute of Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. Because I got involved with, I was introduced to alternative forms of learning through people close to me, and I've sort of gravitated towards alternative learning that's based around a student-centered approach. And that's what mainly our talk is going to be about today. So I'm just grabbing something on my notes here. I guess we can start with a full session description that I've written. In the spirit of revolutionizing education, so around this conference, this interactive session will involve conversation focused on democratic, personal, and self-determined learning. And we'll go deeper into what those mean to me personally, because I know there's a lot of interpretation around those topics. Focusing on a holistic approach that insists we begin with ourselves, this session will emphasize learning opportunities brought about by the internet and online social platforms that are changing and revolutionizing learning. And I just want to pause for a moment there. I know we're talking about the internet and online social platforms, but I want to make it clear too that I do value face-to-face interactions as well, and I think that's also important. Although the internet does provide a lot of opportunities for people to interact that may not be able to be located in the same area. So although face-to-face interaction is important and does happen, internet and online social platforms allows for a greater, I think, concentration of people worldwide around topics of interest. Through these mediums, learners can participate in learning that is meaningful, passionate, and purposeful as determined by each individual. And that's the holistic aspect to it, right? Each person, each learner is able to determine what they value and what they want to learn. And that's, I think, a holistic approach because learning is more significant to a person if they are determining what they want to learn for themselves, right? And this goes against a lot of what formal schooling is, right? Formal schooling tends to revolve around a imposed curriculum that's imposed by external people and external institutions, and learners there don't have much of a voice and are sort of forced to learn what the curriculum dictates, right? And this is sort of the exact opposite approach, where learners have absolute choice and full control of what they want to learn, and their voice and their opinions matter, and how they learn matters, right? So we'll focus on learning that's free from an imposed top-down sort of curriculum style. So I think today where I want to start is basically here. I know there's not a lot of people here. It's myself and Nina. But again, hopefully others will join in. But this conference and this talk represents a community of supportive learners, right? We've all learned about this conference in different ways at different times, and we all value this conference and this opportunity to share for different reasons, right? So we all come together, or we're all coming together for this week and interacting with each other through this conference for our own purposes, right? But the point is that we all value learning in an alternative form, and we all want to connect with others that also share that interest, right? So luckily, we've all found this conference and we know about it, and we can come together and share that information that we have and learn from each other in a non-hostile environment where we all sort of value a different opinion or a different approach to mainstream formal learning, right? So it brings people together from all over the world, right? It transcends boundaries, different countries, different cultures, and sometimes even different languages, right? So this type of learning opportunity through social media can allow sharing of all kinds of different things, right? This conference is just one example, right, around the topic of education and learning in a 21st century model, right, in a 21st century way. But you can also have communities of supportive learners on any number of topics, right? It could be an unusual hobby, it could be an interest, it could be a topic that a lot of people value, it could be a topic that's very specific, and a smaller group may form around that. It doesn't really matter, right? The point is that everyone that's involved within that community and connecting through the social media that the internet provides allows people to come together, right, and to share. So for example, myself, I go on a website called Reddit, right? It's basically they call themselves the front page of the internet, and it's organized in different subreddits or different groups, different topics. And I go on to the technology section of it. And it's basically geared around users sharing information that they find interesting around technology, the issue of technology and the topic of technology. And people post and share information and collaborate, give ideas, share other resources, and get a bigger knowledge of that field, right? And I think that's very valuable. That's a great example of that. I'm just going to throw out a quote here from Noam Chomsky, and he thinks that the idea that education is not to be viewed as something like filling a vessel with water, but rather assisting a flower to grow in its own way. And I think that's what a community of supportive learning online represents, right? People come for different reasons from different parts of the world and have different value systems, and each person takes and gives out information and knowledge in their own way and grows from that, right? However way they grow, right? However important that piece of information is that they shared, or however the learning happens through those social media networks, speaks to that person, speaks to that learner in their own unique way, right? So we come together, we learn through social media, through online communities, and we go away and we take a little tidbit of it, and we come back and we learn some more. We may come back to the same group. We may organize in different groups, but you're creating your own sort of learning network, your own sort of cohort to share information and to grow and to feel safe about learning what you want to learn about, right? And this is really a different approach to learning than formal mainstream schooling, right? You're not allowed to do that in mainstream schooling, right? It's sort of dictated what to learn, and for the most part, how you're going to do it, right? And if you're not into that sort of topic, you really don't have that much choice, right? So that sort of fire in the belly, that voice that all learners sort of have in the beginning sort of diminishes because you feel like your voice is not valued and not wanted. And I think John Holt has great examples of this. And again, I'm going to just throw a quote from John Holt there that sort of, I think, ties this in really nicely. When children first come to school, they are very curious, resourceful, energetic, and capable explorers of the world around them. They do most of what they do not from fear of punishment or hope of reward, but because it is interesting and exciting. And that's what sharing, I think, and learning online with other people that are interested in the same topics, this sort of community of supportive learners that I'm talking about, brings to the table, right? It makes learning interesting and exciting, right? They're not there to pass a test or get a gold star. They're there just for the basic knowledge that they're curious about. And I'll just go on to the next topic there. It's also, I feel, a democratic approach to learning, right? Because learning is viewed from the individual, they decide what sort of groups they interact with, right? And if a group isn't very welcoming, they can decide to leave, right? And if a group is welcoming and they feel safe and they're happy to share their knowledge and they're happy to learn together, then they stay, right? So it's this sort of democratic form and democratic content that sort of aligns together through this, right? And this is more of a holistic approach to learning, right? So being part of a group that sort of has the same frame of mindset and is welcoming your input and you're contributing and you're taking from this group. It's a holistic approach to learning because it's part of your life, right? So schooling, mainstream schooling, sometimes sort of segregates learning into different parts and compartmentalizes learning, right? It's separated by bells, it's separated by time frames, it's separated by subject matter, and you're separated by age as well, right? But with a holistic approach to learning, all that is sort of comes crumbling down because now you're integrating your learning with your life. So you're learning about what you're interested in. So it's more in tune to where in the world you're living, right? What's important to you. age brackets are sort of taken away. So in mainstream schooling, again, we sort of segregate children into different age cohorts. But in real life, I mean, that doesn't happen. As soon as you're outside of that institution of the school building, you interact with people of all ages, right? This is more, again, integrated to a holistic frame of mind, right? Your learning is with other people and with other people that have different knowledge, right? Come from different places, are different age, are born at different times in the world. So you're taking that information in, and you're learning with them, and you're sharing information with them as well. So we interact with people of all ages in society, and this type of learning revolves around that learning that's integrated throughout individual lives, right? Instead of separated learning. I'm just going to look for this one quote that sort of encapsulates this as well. For those of you who joined us, please feel free to share as well. Nina, what do you think about this so far? Do you have any comments, questions? I'll pause a little bit and allow others to, and you to sort of share if you have any ideas on this.
Hey, yes. Hi, Rocco. Thanks for doing this and bringing up a lot of good topics about self-directed approach to learning. And you did bring up a point about this conference being a safe space, a place, you know, without a hostile sort of nature, like something you'd see in a traditional school setting with bullying and kind of having to feel like you're stuck in the same room with somebody you don't want to be in the same room with, and how I agree this conference and other workshops and other special specific groups online can be such an amazing help for self-directed learners. I do want to bring up that it's definitely out there that some people in general do not necessarily have a focus on what they're looking at. I mean, it is overwhelming at some points when we're kind of sifting through our social media feeds and we're seeing all this information on different topics. And it's easy to get lost in them, and it's easy to get sucked into something that you're especially opinionated about. You throw in your ideas, you throw out your opinions, and it can get hostile. It can get, you know, scary, and people get aggressive and not so friendly, right, to each other. But I think, and that being, I guess, an inevitable factor. I think what's nice about that is that you know, it is online, so yeah, it's there, but you can also walk away from it. Whereas, as opposed to a traditional school setting, you know, you don't necessarily have that choice. So that's another. I think I wanted to just bring that point up that, you know, learning online is a way to venture out into, you know, different ways of learning and connecting with other people that are interested in similar things. But when it comes down to kind of getting lost in the chaos and the vastness of the internet, you can walk away if something comes up and you're not comfortable with it. So
definitely,
just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's a safe place, right? And if I mean, in mainstream schooling, you kind of don't have a choice, right? If you like the person you're sitting with or not, or the people that surround you in the room. And in with online learning and social media, you can sort of pick and choose who you associate with, and it's a safe place, right? And this whole idea of unschooling, again, Grace Lulin talks about this in the Teenage Liberation Handbook. I'll just quote her here. Unschooling is a statement of faith in human nature, right? By living your life as proof that you can learn and grow without an institution's control, you show them that they can do the same, right? So it's just almost like first mover approach, right? Like, how did you learn that? What did you learn? You know, who taught you that? And as soon as you start to share that, you know, I self-taught myself online, or I've been watching these YouTube videos, or I've been interacting with people online, and I've learned through that, you know, other people start to feel like it's a valid way to learn, or you know, maybe that I can try that too. I'm curious about this topic, or I want to venture out into learning something, and my institution might not be providing it, let me see how I can do that, right? Let me see who I can connect with online to get that sort of learning going, right? So it allows, and just many of us, right, and me, myself included, walk around with a cell phone in our pocket all day long, right? I text people, I Google information at the time that I need it, right? That's sort of my learning sphere, right? It's everywhere. I don't need to go to a building to learn it. It's with me all the time. So it happens on online connections. It happens, through online connections and social medias. It allows learning to happen in places and spaces that people already are a part of throughout their day, right? So if you're walking through the park and you need some information, you Google it. You need you need to learn how to get somewhere, or if a place is open, or what their hours are, or how much something costs. You can easily Google it and learn through that as well, right? Like that's real life learning as well. The other day, I'll share, my area that I live in had a big blackout, and I walked outside and I looked around and my whole street was out. So I was curious if this was a whole city-wide thing, or if it was just my area or just my street. And what I did immediately was I texted one of my friends that lives about 5 minutes from me, so about two neighborhoods over, and asked him if he had power, and he didn't. Right? So again, this is sort of a way to learn, right? Then we both tried to go onto Twitter and our local news station account, and they were sort of broadcasting that it was definitely a huge problem, and the local power authority also has a Twitter account, and they were broadcasting the same thing, right? So in a matter of seconds, I was able to figure out and learn that it wasn't just my area, it was a huge issue. But that's, again, another example of learning through social media and engaging through social media, right? So I'll just pause there. So it makes sense to extend this to other ideas, right? Other places, other spaces. Again, we've talked about passionate learning, right? With passionate learning and learning that's meaningful through social media. I want to talk about the fact that what Tobin Hart talks about, right? The awe and wonder factor of learning stays lit, right? Your passion, once you're able to learn what you want to learn and how you want to learn it with others that are also interested, your curiosity and your wonder takes over, right? And you're not worried about grades or other people sort of evaluating if what you're learning or how you're learning or what you've done is considered appropriate or not. You're just learning for the fact that you're interested in it, right? So Tobin Hart talks about a lot about that, and he keeps on talking about the awe and wonder of learning, right? And sort of like this beginner's mind. We always have to go back to a beginner's mind and feel some purpose for what we're learning, right? Because if there's no purpose and we're not connected and engaged with the material, then what's the point of learning it, right? Because someone else is telling us that we need to learn this. That, to me, that's not a great example or a great idea of why we should learn something, right? Learning should be about curiosity, about wonder. It's messy, right? And that's the self-determination part. Learning is not linear, right? It's messy. We take, and I touched on this at the beginning too. Learning is messy. We take bits and pieces from all over the place. Some of it online, some of it face-to-face, and we assemble this sort of knowledge that creates a journey for us, right? And we go down these paths, and sometimes these paths lead to other paths, and sometimes we're more curious and we're more interested, and we go deeper and deeper down a path, and sometimes we stop going down that path because we're fulfilled, we're self-fulfilled, that we've learned enough about this topic, and another topic has come into our hearts and our minds, and you're more passionate about that topic. So you go down that route, and you create another avenue, and you meet other people, and you collaborate with these people, and you're sharing and you're gaining more knowledge on that aspect of it. I mean, that's purposeful learning to me, right? That's creating a voice for the learner, and that's creating, a passion about something. Okay. I'll pause there. Nina, do you want to share anything else with that, or do you have any questions, or do you have any clarifications?
Well, now that you're on this angle, I wouldn't mind sharing my own experience with self-directed learning and using social media. When it was just about a little over a year ago that I was more aware that I was incredibly passionate about alternative education, and that being said, I was researching it. I was looking at what's out there and finding that there's this entire world about different alternative forms of learning, which I really honestly didn't know existed. So, when I found out all of this information, I was able to find, what events are going on, where I can find more information, who I can meet, who I can talk to. And I did find a conference, which is the Aero conference, which happened last summer, the annual conference. And that's where I was able to meet a whole world in person, of alternative educators and people who are education activists and who believe that, there's this whole shift going on, and, changes are happening, and we are at the forefront of new ways of learning, and I was able to meet some really inspiring people, including Dr. Nash Carroll, who introduced me therefore to you here in Toronto, which I'm visiting for a few days and observing Alpha 2 Alternative. So here I am, and it all derived from my research, simply, a little over a year ago, digging into alternative education and finding all of these, it's just branched out. I don't even know how I got here. It's all been happening, and it's really just kind of this string of events that's happened as I continue to learn, and I won't stop learning, right? Learning is a life, right. It's a journey, as you said. It's a process. Until the day that we die, we don't have to stop learning, right? So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, and now that you were talking about that it leads you from one place to another, and enables you to connect with people, both in person also, as well as online, and show you bigger, wider world and perspectives. So, yeah.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Thank you. It is liberating, right? And then it allows us to, question who the experts are that we learn from, right? And teachers in classrooms can't know everything, right? Obviously. And I think they're getting questioned more and more on a variety of subjects that learners bring in from seeing it online or learning about it online, and it's hard to keep up with that, right? But if you can engage with, again, a group or a person through social media or through online aspects, and connect with people that do know the answers, again, that's powerful learning, right? That's purposeful. You're interested in it. Right, and I think it starts to allow us as a society to reevaluate, the traditional schooling system or the schooling model, right? Like, how does that fit into the world we now live in, right? The world that enables us to have so much learning potential, literally in our pockets, right, or through iPads. So, it's powerful, and I think. I just want to quote another one here. Alan Collins and Richard Halverson have a book, Rethinking Education in the Age of Technology. And they say, as computers spread throughout society and the web becomes still richer with tools and information, education moves beyond the lockstep of required courses and basic skills. Right? And I think that's starting to happen, right? Where people are not so much interested in, I need to take this course because I need to pass and I need to get this certificate. But what personal learning happens online is I think, starting to be valued as just as important as that piece of paper that you get for completing a course that had curriculum and expectations and tests to pass. I don't think it's at the same caliber yet, but I think it's getting there. And these little inroads that people are making, and by sharing this information and having conferences like this and spreading this message that learning is changing and should sort of or can evolve with technology is important, right? Again, same book. I'll just quote again. Just as the Industrial Revolution led to the development of universal schooling, we believe the knowledge revolution is leading to a new era of lifelong learning. And that's sort of the idea that we're talking about here, right? Like, learning is life and life is learning, and it doesn't happen within an institution that you go to and get knowledge from and then leave, and all of a sudden you're learning. And when you're not in that sort of building or that institution, you're not learning, right? We have the potential to learn 24 hours, 7 days a week from anyone that we want to now, with anyone that we want to, on any topic, right? And I guess the important question to me would be, can sharing through online social outlets contribute to a more meaningful, purpose-filled, passionate life? And I would argue that it does, right? And I'll just share some examples of what can happen basically when passionate people share information online and want to help and contribute to others that share the same interests. Around a community of learning, again, that's holistic, because it's all about learning from within because you're passionate about a subject, and it's, again, self-directed. So it's all three things. I'm sure, hopefully, you've heard of a website called Kickstarter. If you haven't, it's basically a website where people or groups of people can go on there with an idea, usually a new sort of gadget. It's geared towards technology, but it could be anything, and shows that idea and tries to get backing. So people contribute money. It could be $25, it could be $50. They have set goals, and the whole idea is to get enough funding, reach their funding goal, to start to develop and create this new item or this item that they are interested in creating, right, where their passion lies. And some of them have been famously successful, right? The first one, I think, would be, it's called the Pebble Watch. And what it is just, it's one of the first smartwatches to come onto the market, and it started on Kickstarter. And I think their initial funding target goal was about $100,000, and they surpassed it and got actually millions of dollars, and were able to set up a company and provide this new watch, this new gadget, to people that were just hungry for this, right? But it started with people passionate about wanting this new thing, and they wanted to develop it because it wasn't available, but they had an interest in building this. And so it sort of had like a network effect as well, because what they did is open source their code, I guess, for the smartwatch, and a whole industry developed around this smartwatch because other people that were also interested in this watch wanted to write applications or have their own program work with the watch. So all of a sudden you have all these other developers, each contributing their own useful tool for that watch. Right? So it literally created a whole industry based around a group of people that wanted to have this smartwatch. Right? Another one that's actually going on as we speak is a 3D printer. It's actually one of the world's, I think, cheapest 3D printer. It only costs about a couple $100, I believe. But a lot of people are interested in 3D printing because, again, a lot of the code is open sourced, which means that if someone comes up with a code to 3D print, let's say, a glass, or a cup. Anyone can use that and 3D print their own at home, right? If that source code is shared. But the idea is that this new printer is on the Kickstarter campaign, and again, I think their funding goal target was about $50,000, and within a matter of hours or days, they've hit, again, a few $1 million. So they surpassed their funding goal, and this group of individuals are able to work on something that they're passionate about, right? And because a lot of these groups that are on Kickstarter are either amateur people or one or two individuals, a very small group of individuals, it's not just a monetary aspect that they're looking for as well. Some people that browse these campaigns can also help in the sense that they can contribute their own expertise. They can sort of converse with these people that have this campaign going on and offer to help with their own expertise, and maybe even join their group and join their cause. So again, that's creating your own learning cohort, right? A group of people passionate around the topic, and they're learning how to build a business, learning how to build this new item, and growing this sort of economy, right? So I think it's powerful. Another one is, NASA just, again, I think last week or 2 weeks ago right now, they've open sourced their source codes for about 1,000 projects that they had. And by open sourcing it, people can take the source code for these projects that they have and manipulate them, use them, change them into ways that they see fit, right? So a lot of new, I think, tools will be created around people or amateurs even that are interested in playing with this code, with these codes. One of them that's come out, I think, they've open sourced a tracking sort of software or program that they use for tracking stars, and some people have taken that and repurposed it for tracking polar bears in the Arctic. So again, someone that was interested in wildlife and polar bears in the Arctic is able to sort of teach themselves or learn how to use this program or this code and connect the dots and help polar bears, right, and track them and see where they're going, and so forth. So I think that's, again, like a lot of learning happens around that. And the last one I kind of want to share is it's a game or a tool called the Rainbow Loom. I have young cousins in my family, and they're all into this Rainbow Loom, and what it is just a tool to make bracelets out of rubber bands. And what's interesting about it is not the fact that they can make their own rubber bands, although that's interesting in itself, but the way that they learn how to make these bands is by watching YouTube videos online of other young people teaching other young people how to make these bands. So it's kids teaching kids through YouTube, right? They learn how to do something, and then they upload a video to teach other kids how to make that same band that they've created. And I think that's powerful, right? I mean, you have a whole sort of section of young people that are into this, and the way that they're learning is they're not getting it through regular mainstream schooling, because, I mean, apparently this isn't learning that's useful enough, but they're learning on their own through YouTube, right? And you can argue that they're learning quite a bit through that. Google Helpouts is also another website that's not too old. I think it came out last year. And what Google Helpouts is anyone can go on there and basically help out another individual in any sort of area that they do. So a lot of people actually learn a second language through Google Helpouts. And some people charge per hour or per minute, per half hour. And some people actually offer the service for free. And you just book a time with someone and learn a new language or learn a new skill or get business advice, get help, whatever it is, right? But you can, again, interact with someone who's interested or available and willing to share information around the same topic that you're interested in, and it's powerful, right? So you create these personal learning networks through social media and through online networks that wasn't available before, right? Nina, did you want to share anything or talk about maybe even your Facebook group?
Oh, yes. Well, before I talk about the Facebook group that I've started up a little while ago, I did want to bring up again that connecting the dots, as you mentioned, is really what it's all about. You know, it's when you're looking at a traditional education model in a classroom setting, where you know the young person is being told what to do, how to do it, when to do it. It breaks everything down, and as you said again in the beginning, it's really compartmentalizing everything, separating everything as though they stand alone, and that's how you learn it, and you learn it this way, and you're going to get tested on it, right? And so I think it's great that you mentioned that kids are teaching kids online with YouTube videos and other platforms. Because it's also, you know, what they're learning and how they're learning it amongst each other. It totally, like, that's exactly what it is to overlap all the subject matter that they teach in school. It's meshing everything together, interconnecting everything together, and really showing, you know, making bracelets, and, you know, doing art projects, whatever, patterns, math, music, it all intertwines, all of it, science, art, you know, all of it. So in that sense, you know, this really does open up a whole new world in young people, and you know, and a lot of adults don't even see that. Is that these young people having access to this information, their minds are already stretching out beyond, and you know, other, you know, say for instance our parents, baby boomers, you know, this is a very different generation, and we had this discussion before about just the speed and vastness of information coming through to us through technology and social media, just within the past, you know, less than a decade. So it's different for everybody, no matter what age, you know, and that just goes to show how different our young generation is today. And so yeah, thank you for bringing up. It's all about connecting the dots. That's really what it's about. And yes, so you mentioned, you know, this, you can use social media to attract people who are interested in your same interests and causes and whatever you're working on. And right now I'm working on establishing a learning center, learning resource center out at home in Hawaii. And I've put up a Facebook page, a group actually, for discussion and feedback and questions and sharing information and articles and positive messages, and it's called Liberating Hawaii's Youth. And it's definitely, for me, who with this vision of a learning center, it's definitely given me much more confidence, because I have an audience, even if it's a few people that regularly read it, you know, which is fine with me, but at least it's out there, it's out in the public eye, it's out for people to dig into if they're interested, and to ask questions if they're intrigued, and to participate, and to understand, and it helps me understand that, you know, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in my pursuits and my dreams and my ambitions, and there are people out there who want to help out, and that is like, wow, you know, that's such a liberating feeling, because here I am with something I'm passionate about, I want to work on, and I get to, you know, create the space to attract other people who are like-minded and who want to help out or support me in however way they can, which is, you know, which propels my vision, which propels my goals. So it's a beautiful thing that we have. You know, social media, if used as you know, a tool to get where you're going into, it's an incredible vehicle for people who are actually doing things out there and making changes. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to share that.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just share again a quote from John Hope, and he says, "What kills a process are the people interfering with it, or trying to regulate it or control it, right? But if you just allow learning to happen organically, right, and holistically around, you know, the topics that matter to each individual person, however they see fit, it's more purposeful. It's powerful. You're in, you know, what Ken Robinson calls is the element, right? Your element. You're in that zone. It's powerful stuff. And I'll just share again, you know, I think that this type of learning through online social media is blurring the lines of how we think about learning, right? And how we learn, and who the people we learn from are, right? Why we're learning, and for who, right? And I think for who is one of the most powerful questions, because if you're learning something just because someone else is telling you have to, or anything along those lines, it's not, I think, as powerful as if you're learning something that's really passionate to you and that you really care about, because you'll put more effort into it. I think you'll have a better outcome, and you'll start to connect dots like you're talking about, and like I've said earlier on, with a broader, I think, just with learning, right, and with the ideas that that are percolating in your mind. So learning becomes unique to the individual, right, and that should be celebrated. Again, I'll share another quote. Alan Collins and Richard Haverson, I've talked about them before, but they also state that the schools are, as they are currently constituted, are preparing people to live in the last century rather than the new century. And they go on to say, the schools, therefore, have become more and more out of sync with the rapidly evolving technological society around them today. Something about education will have to change. And I think almost despite what schools try to do, right, trying to control and manipulate learning to their vision of it, learners are going out and taking it upon themselves and using the tools that are available through the internet and through online and through social media to learn what they want to learn and how they want to learn it, right? And they're being more and more engaged, more and more involved. It's purposeful for them, and it's meaningful, right? The learning that's happening through these ways is meaningful. And I think it's important to remember that fact. I think I'll stop there, because I think that was a lot to sort of take in. Nina, do you want to have any last remarks?
No, I thank you again for doing this talk. I think it's something that not a lot of people have given much thought to, and it's a good way to get them started on these sorts of philosophies behind education. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And for those of you who will listen to the recording later, thank you for listening.